Hi everyone, thank you for joining the TechChat Tech Update webinar today. Today, Ben Newton, George Gerchow, and I will be sharing some of the new features we have released in the past few months. Starting off with our agenda today, I will be covering the following new features: the default time zone option, the collector setup wizard updates, auto extract option, and then I'll hand it over to dashboard enhancements for Ben to cover some of the new enhancements made, shareable dashboards, interactive dashboards, and then following that, we'll have a demo of the applications for Apache Tomcat and Docker. And following that, we'll have George present the AWS VPC Flow Logs application. Now, starting off with the default time zone setting, previously, time zones were taken automatically from the browser, but now you can change the default time zone displayed in the Sumo Logic user interface. Now, this is a personal setting that does not affect other members of your organization. The change also impacts all hours and minutes that are displayed as time ranges on the search page, also the time column in the messages pane, in your dashboards, and also in the anomaly detection interface. It's good to note that the previous scheduled searches or real-time alert time ranges are not affected by this change. So I can show you just really quickly in our interface where this is. It would be in the preferences setting right here. So if you go to preferences, you'll see here you can toggle and choose your default time zone here. With the collector setup wizard, if you go to manage manage setup wizard, you can see here we've made a lot of changes to this wizard, and it's very easy for you to get your collectors configured. Here you also see your custom app. There's just a couple click-throughs and you'll be finished. Now for the auto extract changes that we made, we can now support JSON. So you can use the JSON auto option in a query to automatically detect JSON objects and logs. You can extract key value pairs without needing to specify fields in your parsing statements. After running your query, you can use the field browser to choose the fields you like displayed, and you can operate on the extracted fields later in the query. Now there are also additional parameters you can use. So since JSON is a hierarchical data structure that can have many levels of OS objects and arrays, you can use the max depth parameter to specify the level at which to flatten the JSON. Also, you can use the JSON auto extract arrays parameter to extract elements from flat arrays with each element of the array as a separate key value pair. Non-flat arrays, or arrays containing other JSON objects or arrays, are extracted by default. You can also use extracted fields later in a query, and let me show you how that works. So here I have some sample JSON logs, and you can see here, right now we don't have any of the fields auto showing up here on the left field browser panel. So what you can do is add JSON auto, and then start your search. And here you can see we have fields extracted out for you. Now you can also use apply a search onto the account operator. Let's just choose one of these that are one of these fields. You can just take a look at the error messages. That's kind of interesting. Error message. Let's take a look at what comes up. It should count by error message type. So that may be of some interest to you, and it makes it a lot easier for you to parse your JSON logs. Okay, now let's go ahead and pass this off to Ben to show you the shareable dashboards and interactive dashboards.
We're excited to announce a new feature around being able to share your dashboards more easily, and this is kind of in the start of a larger set of features that we'll be creating. So with this particular feature, what it allows you to do is create a URL link. So I know this has been a point of pain for many of you in the past. So now you'll be able to create a link when you share the dashboards, and you will be able to send that link to your colleagues over, Slack or some other or email, or however you want to do it, and then they'll be able to launch that dashboard. Now, it does require a login, so one of the things we'll be working on in the future is to be able to allow you to do it without a login. But for this particular feature, we require a login. So hopefully this will make it easier for you to be able to collaborate with each other using dashboards. Now, one of the next big things that we're doing with dashboards, lots of interesting things going on with our dashboards area, is interactive dashboards. Now, our interactive dashboards are basically a new type of dashboard. And so where you see these new types of dashboards being used is for things like doing forensics, so like historical forensics, maybe pinpointing exact occurrence of a problem, doing troubleshooting where you have to kind of zoom in on a data. Reporting and long-term trend analysis. And the reason why is because our live streaming dashboards, which you are, I'm sure, familiar with at this point, they are automatically populated from a stream, but you can't look at historical data, and if you change them, then they restart. So with this case, it's actually based on our search backend, which allows you to do a lot more with the system. So how does it work? Well, first, as soon as you launch the dashboard, it will start filling up the monitors, the panels that you've created based on the searches behind the scenes. And so that means you're going to get it backfilled. You're going to get all the data immediately. Now, it will take perhaps some time to populate those, a few seconds, but it will go and run the searches for you and grab that data. Now, there's some additional things that it can do as well that we pull in. Is that you can choose any time range that you want, both for individual panels and for the dashboard. You can filter that data, and you can and it will be automatically optimized behind the scenes. So what this really means is that we will go and pre-compute the data for searches that you want to run over longer periods of time, or if you want to share with your colleagues in your account, we will automatically optimize that for you. Now let's just switch over and actually show you this in operation. So we've got a one right here for you that we built around search usage. So you'll see that it looks very similar to the ones that your live dashboards that you're using today, except for a few important things. Now, one is that you can see here that you can change on per panel. But one thing you'll notice is it has things that really you didn't see before that we added for interactive dashboards, like yesterday, previous week, previous month, again, because you can do historical searches. And you can change on any individual panel. For example, I can go in here and do the last 5 minutes, just like I can do in today's dashboard, but as opposed to the live streaming dashboards, it goes and automatically populates. Now, what I can also do is I can go and I can override all the panels with an option up here. So say, for example, that I wanted to look at a problem that I was observing from 8 to 8:30 this morning. I can actually type that in just like I can from search, and you'll notice that all of the panels have now reset to this new time range, and they were overridden. So now the entire dashboard will be set to that. And then the important thing is that if you create one of these dashboards yourself and you share it with your colleagues, they can all change it to any time range they want and use it without changing the original dashboard, which again is an important difference between that and the live streaming dashboards which you've used in the past. Now, what we've also added is the ability to add a filter. So you can actually do filters. So you'll see these little blue icons. You can do it at the dashboard level and at the individual panel level. And here you can see how it'll highlight the particular filters that are active for these panels. And so here I've added two new ones called username and query type. Now, if I have edit rights because I created the dashboard, I can also add a filter. And here you can see I can add something like, the different things that have been pulled through field extraction or in my queries or however you've extracted your fields. But those will all be available here, and you can add those at any point in time. Now, what I'm going to do is I can also say that, I want to look at some things that have been going on. So I'm going to revert back to the default the last 15 minutes, and I want to look at what I've been doing. So I'm going to type Ben star, so it supports that kind of the things that you might see in search where you can type in a star into your query. And so now I'm only seeing, the dashboard has been completely reconfigured to only see the things that I've been running, ben@demo.com in this instance. So here you can see that has been running view maintenance, interactive dashboards. So everything we've just been doing as part of this demo is showing up as part of this dashboard. And and as well, I could go in and say, well, instead of doing that, I want to look at just the interactive queries, interactive dashboard, interactive queries, and I type that, and then that would refilter everything again. And now this is for everybody that's running in this particular account, but now I'm seeing interactive searches and interactive queries. So in this way, you can basically create a dashboard that you can share with your colleagues that allow them to explore the data. So those of you who create it, you use the edit option here to add lots of interesting filters that you find to be useful. And then anyone that loads up this dashboard will have access to these filters, and then they can filter the data and explore the data in that way. Hopefully it's just something that you guys will enjoy using, and we look forward to your feedback on that. Send me an email at ben@sumologic.com if you have any questions or feedback. Now, moving on, let's talk a little bit about a couple applications that we've added. So, just as an extension of the work that we've already done around Apache and Nginx and different web systems, IIS, we've added now Apache Tomcat. And so with Apache Tomcat, there are lots of different things that we were able to put in there based on the data that's provided from Tomcat. So first, we were able to do server operations monitoring. We can look at website visitor behavior patterns. So this is very similar to what we've done for other the Apache platforms. You can look at the overview of the Tomcat servlet container. So this is now some of the kind of app level information that you can see now, as well as things garbage collection, which is an important thing to be able to see on Tomcat. Now, if we actually start looking at some of the dashboards here, so this, as with all of our applications, we deliver to you a whole set of out-of-the-box dashboards as well as out-of-the-box searches. It'll kind of get you started, and then you can edit and change these dashboards in any way you want after you've installed the application. So in this overview, it just gives you a couple high-level ways to look at the system, so you can see where your visitors are coming from, where the 404 errors are coming from. You can see status codes, types of media. So lots of different things that would be helpful to you to understand how your data is being served. Now, just like with our current Apache and Nginx apps, there's also a visitors locations in-depth dashboard that shows you both splits by country and by U.S. state. And for those of you overseas, you can change that to be in any particular country in the world you want, and do it by region and get the same kind of thing. Now, just as with the other web apps, we have kind of more of a deep insight into visitor traffic. So here you can see traffic volume. We can see responses over time, again, media types, top search terms, top refers, things that will be interesting to you as you try to look at what's going on with your website. And with the web server operations thing, you start getting into the real kind of the more geeky parts of the backend system, understanding what's causing 404 responses, your error responses, server errors over time, things like that. Now we start to get into some of the things that are very particular to Tomcat, Catalina, and the app backend. So here you can see logs by log level, by component, exceptions, different server events, as well as seeing, like I said, the garbage collection. So you can see if garbage collection is going correctly and make sure that's not causing any problems based on the performance of your application. So all of these things will really help you to get a good sense of what's going on with your Tomcat application system. Now, moving on with Docker, we're very excited to announce this not too long ago that we've added support for Docker. Now, as we've done this, there's some very important things that we've provided as part of this this first release of this Docker integration. One is a native collection source for Docker infrastructure. So this is it's native, meaning that basically this works directly with our system, and it's native to what's going on with Docker. And as part of doing this, we provide infrastructure monitoring, different events within Docker, including abnormal behavior and application behavior, to help you understand what's going on with your apps that are on Docker, as well as some of the stats that are in Docker already, the key metrics and KPIs. So now you'll be able to pull those into Sumo and use those in dashboards to see what's going on with your Docker containers and that you're running. Now, as part of what you'll see there is things like, what images are being used, container actions, the different like CPU, mem, network, all the things you would expect from kind of a server system level statistics that now Docker is providing that we're able to take in. Now, one important thing that I would say here is that as opposed to some of the other integrations that have been done here, this is all transparently based on our query language. So we take in the data essentially raw, and we can provide some massaging of that data through our query language, and you can very easily understand what we did by looking at our dashboards and searches and create your own dashboards. And it's not it's basically not a specialized version of this. It's exactly like how we do for all of the other applications. Now, if we look at some of the things that we've done in particular for Docker, on our overview page, you can see some statistics on the containers, which ones are running, how they're actually using the resources. You can see here some outlier detection based on network errors to see if those are those actually working abnormally. And we additionally have some detailed dashboards on different things that are important for Docker. So here we can see CPU usage, and you can see that by container, and see different things like throttle time and total usage, so different parts of the CPU usage statistics, as well as memory. So again, this is kind of this baseline of system performance that you would want to see. So looking at containers by memory used, page faults, different errors that you would see from the memory perspective, as well as network performance. So you can see this now by container and see errors, by container. So again, this provides you a good overview of what's going on with your Docker system. Now, to kind of wrap up on our app section here, let's bring George on, and he can talk to us about the beta application for AWS VPC flow logs. George?
Great, thank you. Can you just please hit the next slide? Thanks. Yeah, there you go. Just pull that sucker out. Perfect. Okay, so just to give you an overall view of where we're headed. So a while back, we released the CloudTrail app, which was very important for us to start showing our customers visualization around the who and the when of events. So started giving you that higher level point of view as to what's taking place within your instance. To take the step further, Amazon recently released the VPC flow logs. Well, what does this mean? Well, from 3 different use cases, it starts giving us extreme visibility from a network side. So look at it a lot like NetFlow, but for Amazon. The 3 use cases are, number 1, starting off with troubleshooting. So all of a sudden, I start having issues with an application. Usually it's due to network traffic, not to blame the network guys first, but that's usually what happens. So then I want to have visibility into what packets are being dropped off, strictly from a troubleshooting type perspective. The next use case around that that's very strong is from a security perspective. So what packets are being rejected coming into my VPC and then trying to access my resources within my VPC. For example, I have an RDS box, I'm the admin on it, all of a sudden all these people are starting to hit it. Why are they hitting it? Why are they trying to hit it? Where are those packets coming from? So very key from a security perspective. And then the third one is just simple audit. So do I have VPC flow logs turned on or off? A lot of customers, yesterday, for example, we were walking someone through one of our beta installs. They had no idea how to turn it on and if it was on. And again, it's an extreme amount of visibility across that network side. The source and destination IPs to me are very critical as well too, because then it starts showing me where people are headed and what they're trying to attack or get to, and then as well where are they coming from, so from a geographical location. So what do we do on top of this? So Amazon's already giving us this information within the VPC for logs. Well, it's extreme visualization and then deeper analysis around it. So now I can actually start seeing a visual of where am I starting to get these rejects coming from, what areas of the world, what geographical locations, how often am I having rejects by minute, so I can start really getting good visualization around that and then start taking deeper dives, for example, to say, okay, so my rejects, what parts of the globe are they coming in, and can I narrow it down to a specific time and group where it's happening more often than not? So like if someone's trying to do a DDoS attack on my environment or trying to use a bot as well. I was going to ask you, is there any way that I can get control here for a second? Because if I can, I was just going to do a quick demo and show off some of the dashboards that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hand that off to
Look at that. Man, the magic just happens when I ask them. I'm glad you're in the room.
you.
Cool. All right. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Awesome. Okay, so this is just a live dashboard, and I'm going to get to some of the interactive stuff that you were talking about, Ben, which is very cool. From a live dashboard overview, now you can start seeing all the different parts of the globe where people are starting to access my VPC. But I can start narrowing a lot of this information down as well, too, because I want to start understanding what are my max rejects per minute, and why is this? Why are my max rejects overall? So why is this important? Well, because I want to see if there's deviations in this number over time. So starting to use things like outliers as I start moving forward. My interface ID is also a critical component too, because this is kind of the keys of the kingdom as to, it's a virtual network interface that anyone can attach to an instance in a VPC. So it can include a lot of critical attributes like a primary private IP address, one or more secondary private IP addresses, elastic IP, MAC address, source and destination check flag. So a lot of information by this interface ID, which I'm starting to surface here as well. And then obviously the rejection data, which is what I really care about as a security guy from a troubleshooting perspective. Then you can start correlating that to the map and start seeing where some of these rejects are coming from. When I start getting to the rejections piece, now we can start getting to rejections by minute. Here's where I want to start building outliers around that. Because I'm going to set a dynamic threshold based upon how many I normally and typically see within the environment. But then, all of a sudden, I start having something that's a deviation from that. So I can start drilling down into those deviations and then start narrowing my time scope to figuring out and to get to the raw data to narrow my time scope around those as well too. So I wanted to give you an example of the raw data sitting behind it and then starting to see where all of a sudden I had this spike in rejects where I had 7 drops, which it hasn't been the typical outlier for what we've done usually within that VPC flow log. Again, the source and destination address. So here's my top 10 destination address rejects. So this is something I want to track over time. Start seeing who it is that's really primarily trying to access my information. Again, this doesn't have to be malicious, but these are the top 10 that I have. So again, if I'm troubleshooting an environment or I'm looking at things from a security perspective, very, very valuable information. And then obviously the source address as well too. So who is it that's trying to tap into my environment? Now I'm going to move over into an interactive dashboard. And this is some of the things that Ben was talking about earlier. So here I have just all of my activity across the board. Again, my source address and where things are coming from, destination address, and then my actions by interface ID, which I described earlier as being a critical component. And I can start taking action on this. So if I come up here and I click on the searchable address, I can hit rejects. And do a search, and now it's going to narrow down the scope and bring up a map of which areas I'm getting the most rejects from, and start narrowing down the scope again of what's really starting to take place within the environment. So here we have my top rejects all being focused right here. You can see the geographical locations, which for most organizations may not be desirable places to try to access my VPC. And then I can start digging down deeper into those and start figuring out, again, if it's a security violation or if it's just a troubleshooting access type violation. So with that, let me talk a little bit more, if you don't mind going back to the slide deck.
Absolutely. 1 second.
So where are we at with all this today, and then what does it mean in the bigger picture? So right now, this is in beta, and we're launching to 3 to 5 customers over the course of the next week and a half. Right now, the way that we're collecting the data is we're doing it through a script through the CloudWatch API for the data. So we're going to switch over to a Kinesis collector when we go GA, which is really good for all of our AWS customers. That is going to be the standardized platform moving forward. The other piece of this, too, is we're going to release right behind the AWS VPC flow log application an AWS config app. So when you start figuring out, I'll have AWS config, which is now going to show me what all of my objects are in their current state, and then what their relationships are and what are the associated changes. After that, I can extend up to the CloudTrail app, which is going to show me the who and the event, and then get down to the network level when it comes to what my network traffic looks like, my rejected IPs, source and destination, and then who's trying to access what within my VPC. So the plan is going to be to try to have some sort of Uber AWS app that goes all the way up and down the stack. So when you release a workload in your EC2 instance, you'll be able to see everything end to end, and we're hoping to have this done by reevent. But for right now, just to clarify, CloudTrail is in production, AWS VPC Flow Log is in beta, and then AWS Config will be released right after VPC Flow Log sometime in late August. And with that, I'll pass it back off to the team. And thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you, George. I appreciate you going through that. Well, a couple things we'll wrap up, just some smaller features that you would be interested in. So first of all, we introduced a new operator called the parse hex operator, which basically allows you to convert a hexadecimal string of 16 or fewer characters to a number. So this can be very useful if, for example, as you do in our own logs, we have hex numbers sometimes produced by the code that we actually want to see as a decimal number. So this allows you to do that. As well, on the anomaly detection side, we've made a few different updates that you will be able to see. First, that you can create snapshots of anomaly reports to save information about events and incidents that need further investigation, so you can look further into them and interact with them. There's also an incident page, which allows you to run historical query on demand for insights to the anomalies detected by Sumo Logic that are outside of your 6-hour window. And finally, when you drill down into the updated signatures pane, you'll see a new line graph and signature details. So this is very helpful to allow you to understand some of what's going on in terms of the behavior of some of these different anomalous events. So you can see where certain ones have increased over a certain period of time, where other ones decreased, and you can see how they did that in relation to each other, which is very valuable in terms of understanding the events that you see. And then finally, right on the heels of JSON Auto, we've also extended our key value operator to have an auto option as well. So with JSON, that requires that you have well-formed JSON for that to work, and then it'll use some of the hierarchical naming schemes. Whereas with key value, you can have any key values within your message, and by default, we'll support basically your normal key equals value, either in quotes or not, and then you can give it some additional input to change that. So again, this allows you, for those of you who have either standardized on JSON or key values, it allows you to really take advantage of some of the automatic parsing that these will provide. Now, finally, if there's any questions, so let me take a little look here to see if there's any other questions. So one of the questions was about sending out the link to the webinar. We always do that, and so you will be seeing that, and feel free to share it with your colleagues, and people can watch that after the fact. And as well, of course, you can reach out to myself, Ben, at sumologic.com for questions about some of the features in the beginning. Sahir Azam is another one of my colleagues who owns the two applications. The first two applications you saw, the Apache Tomcat and Docker. So that's Sahir at sumologic.com. That's SAHIR at sumologic.com. And so unfortunately he was sick today, but feel free to reach out to him for questions. And of course, George at the end there with the VPC flow logs and some of the stuff that's going on with that, feel free to reach out to him at george@sumologic.com. Now, I'm not seeing any other questions coming through, so again, feel free to reach out to us after the fact to get any questions answered. But we really appreciate your time, and we will send out the link to this, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.